Ducati World, otherwise known as Ducati World Racing Challenge in other regions, is a bike racing game that was published by Acclaim Entertainment and released on the PlayStation, Windows PC and the Sega Dreamcast in 2001 that allows players to race as many different iconic and legendary motorcycles from a variety of different eras dating back to the early days of bike racing in general, all the way through to the current day of when the game was released, which is a pretty cool feature in most respects, and it gives you access to a variety of different tracks and features that also enhance the gameplay aesthetic. But with that being said, when the game was released, even though it was released on multiple systems, it didn't get the best of reviews across the board. If anything, the PlayStation version actually got the best reviews across the three platforms, with the PC coming in second, and then the Dreamcast version got very poor reviews, stating that it didn't really match up to what was seen before it, and it just felt quite clunky, fiddly, and yet just in many ways just quite poor in the grand scheme of things when you look at other bike racers that were on the system that had come and gone over the years. Now, it doesn't take away from some of the features the game has at its disposal. It does have some unique elements that are worth exploring into, but even from my own perspective of playing it, graphically, especially on the PlayStation, it does have some nice aesthetics, but it wouldn't be the most visually impressive racing game seen on the system, and can be quite difficult in most regards, especially with the control systems, as the bikes themselves, depending on which era of bike you use, some are decent but yet some are quite clunky and fiddly to use. Plus, you'll find that with some races the difficulty of the AI opponents can be extremely aggressive compared to other races. Some races you will literally just clean up and win with relative ease, and then other races you can barely even get into first place and keep any sort of marginal gap against the person behind you, and the chances are they'll just whiz past you at the finish line without any reason, even though you've spent the entirety of the race making virtually no mistakes, but you can't seem to overcome them. It's so random in terms of how the control systems and the AI dynamics work in the game that it can leave a very disgruntled taste in the face of gamers really that are looking to play it, and that's the main reason why it got such poor reviews, as there's such an imbalance in terms of the gameplay aesthetics that it will frustrate a lot of players. But aside from that, it does have some cool features, but it wouldn't be up there with the best bike racers on the system. If anything, when we look at the reviews, it's often considered as one of the worst. But it is what it is. It really just depends on your own preferences. The fact is that it has the Ducati brand and allows you to race as some of the most iconic bikes. For that reason alone, it is worth a try just to experience and explore some of those unique motorcycles from the different eras that are available. But it just wouldn't be for everybody. But unfortunately, when we look at the lineup of the amount of racing games seen on the PlayStation, which to be honest are a boatload of racing games on the system, but funnily enough there's very few bike racing games that were available on the console. If anything, it's slim pickings. There's very few titles, in all fairness, to select from. I've been playing many of these games recently as of recording this video, and I can only count around 20 games, if at all, that are available on the system, and out of the 20 there's only about 8 to 10 of them that are original games, and this being one of the original games. The rest of them are pretty much just rehashes or re-envisions of the same game over and over again, but just rebranded under different names in different regions or under different types of publishers, but technically they're the same game. So for all intents and purposes, it actually scales down the amount of games that are available, because there really, when you think about 20, there really is only about 10, if I'll be honest. But it is what it is. That's just the reality of the way games were being developed, and even like that, they're still like that even today. It really just depends on what version of the game you gain access to at the time. You may enjoy it while others won't as such, but it really just depends on your own individual tastes or preferences, and this game is in that category. Some will like it, some won't, but for those that do, you'll get some fun out of it. But for those that don't, you'll probably play it just for a quick blast and quickly move on to something else. But that just depends, like I said, on you. But I would love to know your thoughts on Ducati World or any of the bike racing games that were seen on the PlayStation, and what do you think of them overall. So be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more videos on the channel around some of the other bike games as I've mentioned, I'll leave a link in the description to a playlist to see more of those games in action, so you can decide for yourself whether they're good or not. And if you have enjoyed this video, also be sure to leave a like, and as always, keep those gaming memories alive.